Hello, I just want to demonstrate how you can analyze mHero reports in Iris. Okay, if you go to View Reports, you will find a section under Reports called mHero section, which currently has 3 reports. There is Person Flow Response, and there is Person Workflow Run Summary and Workflow Run Results. And Workflow Run Results, you'll be able to see all the workflows that have been started to health workers and the responses, and the messages, the text messages which have been sent to a health worker, and the responses for which health workers has responded to that workflow. Workflow run summary, you'll be able to see a list of all workflows which have been started to health workers, and their summary whether a health worker has responded to those workflows or a health worker has completed to those workflows. Also, we have a person flow response. This shows a list of health worker who has responded to any workflow in a specified time. So let me start by taking you through this workflows run results. So this shows this is the report which shows SMS exchange between a health worker and Rapid Pro, which stands on behalf of Means of Health. So as you can see, you have first name, you have last name, you have middle name, and you have session number, you have workflow name, you have phone message sent, the date for which the message was sent, and the message for which the message arrived to the health worker. And this is the text message that was sent or that was received from the health worker. This is the flow start date. This is the time for which the flow was started, and this shows whether the flow was completed by a health worker or not. And this shows the step type, whether this is a request means a message that was sent from Rapid Pro to the health worker, and response means the message was sent from the health worker to Rapid Pro. So with this, you have filters in here. You can filter, for example, I need to see, let's say, how many health workers responded yes. You can filter by response text, and maybe I want to see how many health workers responded yes to this workflow central staff validation. If this workflow required someone to respond yes or no, then you will be able to see a list of all health workers who responded by yes or no. Now let's want to explain a bit about session number. What is session number? As you can see, session number has the format year, month, and date. Then there is another number. This is the number which is given to all health workers who participated in a workflow. If you start a workflow to a list of 10 health workers, then all those 10 health workers will be assigned a similar session number. This will help to differentiate a workflow started between two or three or more different groups of health workers. So you can start, maybe someone can come and ask you to send a workflow, let's say, to people who belongs to a certain facility, and then someone else come and ask you to send the same workflow but to a group of people who belongs to another facility. Then you can differentiate between those health workers who participated in those two different sessions but on the same day and the same workflow by using session number. So the session number has year, month, date, and there is a number which is generated based on every time a workflow is started. So for example, in here you can even filter by, if you want to know how many health workers were involved in this workflow, write SMS, wrong health worker. But for this session, you can just add that filter. You can filter by session number, then apply limits. Then these, you have 498 staff who were involved on that workflow for that session. Another report, there's a person, workflow, and summary. So this one shows all health workers with the workflows for which they participated. It also shows you the session number for that workflow for which that health worker participated. Also, it shows you the start date for that workflow, when was it started. It also shows you whether that health worker responded to that workflow. It also shows you whether the workflow was completed. So you can even, let's say I want to know, let's say I started this workflow to a number of health workers, census training, invite. I want to know how many or who responded, who completed this workflow. If I apply limits, then I'll be able to see a list of health workers who completed this workflow. If I want to know who responded to this workflow, I'll just select yes and select my workflow and then apply limits. I'll be able to get a list of health workers who responded to my workflow. And I can even select no if I want to see how many health workers didn't respond to this workflow. Okay, the other one is person flow response. This shows a number of health workers who responded to any workflow. So suppose that I want to know, if I want to know how many health workers responded to any workflow, maybe in February, let's say, how many health workers responded to any workflow from February 1 to February 29th. If I apply limits, then I should be only 2 health workers responded to any workflow that was started to them in the month of February. I can extend my limits, let's say from January, apply limits. Then I have 354 health workers who responded to any workflow that was started to them in the period of January and February. So this, I can also filter by job if I want to know. I can filter by cadre. Thank you for listening.